Hello, fifth and sixth graders. Happy summer. So today I'm going to be talking about some nonfiction text features. So when you're reading a book that is nonfiction, whether it is a scientific book or a science textbook, just a nonfiction book you're reading on your own in our reading textbooks, any of those nonfiction stories that you might read, looking at the text features. Sometimes I think the text features get overlooked and skipped, and they can provide very important information and help us understand better what we're reading about. And some very important information and even interesting facts. So, we're going to first talk about what some text features are and what they mean, and then we're going to look into a kind of cool book and see if we can find those text features in that book. So, first, we have the table of contents. Many of you are familiar with the table of contents. There's table of contents in almost any books that you read, whether it is a textbook, a nonfiction book, and even fiction stories. But in a nonfiction textbook, table of contents is the list of topics or information in the book and what page they're found on. If you are reading the book front to back, the table of contents maybe doesn't concern you as much, but if you're looking for a specific type of animal, in this case here, we're just talking about different things found in the sea, different creatures, the sharks. Here, this is women in science. So if you're looking for information on a specific person, you would be looking at the table of contents. So the table of contents just tells you where to find some information. Next, we have photographs. So what's different about nonfiction textbooks or nonfiction text versus fiction is that the photographs are going to be real images most of the time. They're taken with a camera and what the actual thing looks like, not just an illustration drawn or created in that way. And the photographs often include a caption. So these are the same photos with their caption. So a caption is small text near a photograph that provides more information about the photo. Um, so here it says the Olympus Mons has not yet erupted for at least 2 million years. So that tells you exactly what this photo is, so you don't have to guess. Same thing here on Venus, giving some information on Venus. Next, we have headings. So the heading is the name of a section. It gives you preview of what you're reading, and you can often tell that it's a heading because it's bolded or a different color. So here, this whole page is about Jupiter. This whole page or section is about the cookie cutter shark. One thing you can notice here where it says cookie time, that's called a subheading. So within the cookie cutter shark, there's information here with a subheading. Next, we have bold print. So words that are in bold are important to the topic. These words are often vocabulary words that you then can find in the glossary. Many nonfiction texts have a glossary where you can find, it's like a dictionary, but it's only words that are found in that text. Most of the time in the glossary, the words in the glossary are the words that were bolded throughout the text. Then we have diagrams. So diagrams are like photos, but they're a little bit more broken down. It shows the parts of something and they often include labels. So here is a diagram of Jupiter, okay? And it is broken down that here is the core, this is the liquid hydrogen, and these are the clouds, okay? These are the labels, so you know exactly what that is. Otherwise, it's just like, here's this point. Well, what is that? It tells you with the labels. We also have sidebars. So sidebars are boxes located off to the side of the main text. It gives interesting facts or an extra information. This is one that I think most of the time, more often than others, gets overlooked and just skipped. If I was many kids, if you were reading this frilled shark, you just read this paragraph here, this photo, and this paragraph here. And don't go back and look at this. And so this fact file, this is going to be the more interesting information, maybe the fun facts. So these are just things you really don't want to miss out on. So make sure that you read those when you are reading through a nonfiction text. So then what we are going to do is I'm going to look through the book two truths and a lie, it's alive. And so this book includes, so here is the table of contents. So I know exactly what I'm going to be reading about. I'm going to read chapter 4, small animals. Okay, and so then chapter 4, and then there are the three headings. Puppy's Got a Brand New Pal, The Tiny Guardians of Your Bookshelf, and Mighty Mollusks. What's interesting about this in this book itself, so it says you should know something right up front. This book is sneaky. Everybody knows the way books normally work. If you pick up a work of fiction, you know that most of what you will read in between those covers is made up. It's a delicious creation straight from the imagination of the author. If you pick up a nonfiction book, then you can count on the contents being true and factual. But this book is not all fiction nor all nonfiction. Instead, it's a bit of both. See, sneaky. All around us, everywhere in the world, there are lies. There are truths too, and sorting out one from the other is really important and a seriously interesting part of life. Each section is broken down into chapters, and each chapter consists of 3 stories. In every single chapter, 2 of the stories are 100% cross your heart and hope to die truths, and one of the story is a complete fabrication, a lie. So that's what this book, how it's organized. So I'm going to read chapter 4, small animals. So before I begin reading, I'm going to look through this chapter 4, small animals, and I'm going to mark off all of the different types of nonfiction text features that I find in the story. So I'm going to look for headings, bolded words, diagrams or photos, captions to go with those, and sidebars. So to start, here is a heading. I've got a diagram here. It even says right there, diagram of a thread snake's home, a canine's inner ear. So there is a diagram with a caption. I've got bolded word, domesticated. This book is interesting because it does have a glossary. Somewhere. Well, this book does include a glossary, but it also gives us the definition of the word right there on the page in this kind of sidebar. Here's another photo. A photo with a caption. Caption, a bolded word here, symbiotic. This is another heading. A photo. Here we've got a sidebar. The great group, so each of these has been used to refer to a group of animals. Here is a photo with a caption. So you can see there are many, many all throughout. Let's see, another sidebar here. So by marking these off, it just is reminding me to go back and read them and to not skip over them because they may seem unimportant because they are extra. So now that I've got those marked off, I'm going to go back and begin with chapter 4, Small Animals. Puppy's got a brand new pal. Everybody needs a friend, right? Someone to talk to, someone to do stuff with, someone who can curl up quietly and snooze inside your ear until the next time you want to hang out. Wait, what? Okay, maybe that last one's not the most common thing for a friend to do. But if you are a wild dog in East Africa, your closest pal might just be a tiny creature called an African thread snake, which would live, you guessed it, inside your ear. The African thread snake is a species of blind thread snake that is native to the East African countries of Kenya and Tanzania, though specimens have been spotted as far east as the island of Madagascar. The tiny snakes only ever grow 1 to 2 inches long, making them the smallest snake on record. They're thin too, barely fatter than a string of spaghetti. With their glistening pink bodies, they are often mistaken for tiny earthworms. But that's not what you want to hear about, is it? Okay. What's extraordinary about the African thread snake is that its natural habitat is inside the middle ear canal of wild dogs. African wild dogs are quite different from their domesticated cousins. So domesticated is a bolded word, so I know that it's important. So I'm going to go up here and look to know that domesticated means not wild, cared for by people. I can relate that to a pet dog. Their ears are large and cone-shaped, and they have sharp eyes and distinctive spotted coats to help them blend in with their shrubbery landscape. In domestic dogs, the middle ear chamber is a small area containing 3 tiny bones and sealed off by the eardrum. But wild dogs have something extra, a tiny passage leading into the chamber from the outer ear. The tiny open ear space is where the thread snake makes its home. So I can see here with this photo that this is probably an example of the Eastern African dog. Okay, and down here then this diagram shows exactly what this text was talking about, where the thread snake makes its home in the inner ear. There's a diagram that explains kind of how it gets in. Okay, now this photo then adds to the text because it says that it's a nice close-up of a dog's ear. I can tell it's a real photo. What could those big ears be hiding? That kind of relates to where the thread snake lives. Okay, on this page is the word symbiotic. Okay, that is a very new word to me. It's an evolutionary symbiotic bond that has grown exceptionally strong. So I'm going to look over here, and it means a relationship between 2 parties from which both benefit. So that tells me that the dog and the thread snake benefit both from this relationship. So going through now, this is a second story, so I know that because of the heading. Again, there's more photos with captions. Here, I'm going to just look at this sidebar. So each of these has been used to refer to a group of animals except one. So this is more of just an interesting fact. Hissing of snakes, aurora of polar bears, embarrassment of pandas, banquet of pheasants, murder of crows, squad of squid, implausibility of nuss, zeal of zebras, gulp of magpies, confusion of guinea fowl. Those are nearly all a mystery to me. I have heard of a murder of crows, but I have not heard of any of those other ones. So then the interesting thing about this book then is that it has the answer guide. So I can go here and it will tell me that a group of snakes is not called a hissing. The rest are true. So if you're interested in this book, it's a very cool, interesting book. Use the text features that it gives you to make sure you understand everything that you read.